And then, chaos. Gunshots thundered in sync with the music. Red and blue lights flashed as John moved through the crowd like death itself. Headshots, grapples, knife kills. His style was flawless, efficient, terrifying. The dance floor turned into a war zone. People screamed and fled as Iosef's guards fell, one after another. John came face to face with Iosef himself, but the coward ran, slipping away into the night. Once again, John had to fight through walls of guards to reach him. Blood covered the floors, dozens dead. This is the story of a man who once struck fear into the heart of every criminal in New York City. A man so dangerous that even the bravest killers whispered his name in fear. They called him Baba Yaga, but he wasn't the boogeyman. He was the one you sent to kill the boogeyman. And when peace was stolen from him, John Wick came back from retirement with a fury so unstoppable. The entire underworld trembled. Tonight, we step into that world. We'll uncover the betrayal that broke him, the vengeance that fueled him, and the blood-soaked path that turned John Wick into a living legend. But be warned, when John Wick goes to war, there are no survivors. Because this story doesn't start with a gunfight. It starts with love. Once John Wick was not a killer. Once he was a husband, a man who found a reason to walk away from death. But fate is cruel. His wife, Helen, the woman who gave him hope, fell to illness. She left him, not in anger, not in betrayal, but in silence. Her last gift arrived after her funeral, a small puppy named Daisy. She wrote in her letter, "John, you need something to love so that you may grieve and not be alone." And so John held on to that puppy. Tiny paws, innocent eyes. Daisy became his anchor, his last piece of Helen's love. For a time, it seemed he could heal. He drove his sleek Mustang down empty roads. He fed Daisy cereal at the kitchen table. He lived in quiet pain, but also quiet peace. But peace has enemies, because one random stop at a gas station would change everything. At the station, John fueled his car, a black 1969 Mustang, roaring with power. That car caught the eye of a young Russian thug, Iosef Tarasov. Cocky, spoiled, reckless. The kind of man who thought money and his father's power could buy anything. Iosef walked up, smirked, and asked John, "How much for the car?" John replied with cold finality, "It's not for sale." But Iosef wasn't used to hearing no. He muttered something in Russian, something John understood perfectly. Everything has a price. And in that instant, the seeds of war were planted. That night, while John slept peacefully with Daisy at his side, Iosef and his men broke into the house. They beat John, dragged him across the floor. They stole the car, and worst of all, they killed Daisy. The puppy whimpered, crawled to John's side, and died in his arms. The screen doesn't just show violence. It shows the destruction of John's last tie to humanity. And with Daisy's death, something inside him snapped. The Baba Yaga woke up. The next morning, John stood in silence. His wife gone, his puppy gone, his car gone. All he had left was the rage. He walked to the basement, pulled out a sledgehammer, and smashed the concrete floor until his hands bled. Beneath the rubble lay an arsenal, guns, gold coins, weapons of every kind. The past he had buried, now unleashed again. The news spread quickly. John Wick was back. And when word reached Vigo Tarasov, Iosef's father, the most powerful Russian mob boss in New York, his blood ran cold. He screamed at his son, "Do you know what you've done?" That wasn't just a man, that was John Wick. He explained to Iosef, "John Wick is not the boogeyman. He's the one you send to kill the boogeyman." Even Iosef, arrogant as he was, felt the chill. But fear wouldn't save him. Vigo, desperate to protect his son, sent a hit squad to John's house. 12 assassins armed with rifles, blades, and silencers. John Wick waited. One by one, they entered his home. One by one, they fell. Gunshots echoed through the night. The camera showed John in his element. Fast reloads, perfect headshots, brutal takedowns. Not a single assassin survived. When the police arrived, the officer looked around, saw the carnage, and simply said, "You working again, John?" John stared, silent. The cop nodded. "I'll leave you to it." And with that, the city knew. The Baba Yaga had returned, and the bodies were just beginning to fall. But John Wick's war wasn't fought alone. There were rules, codes, places untouched by violence. At the center of this hidden world was the Continental Hotel, a sanctuary for assassins. Inside its walls, there was one rule above all. No business may be conducted on Continental grounds. Break that rule and face death. Here John met Winston, the wise and calculating manager of the hotel. Winston welcomed John back, reminding him of the rules, but also respecting the legend standing before him. The Continental was filled with killers, mercenaries, and spies. Yet when John entered, they all turned to look. Some nodded with respect, others whispered in fear. The Baba Yaga had returned to their world. From there, John began his hunt for Iosef, but Vigo was already moving pieces against him. Contracts were placed, every killer in the city was watching, and soon the hunt would explode into blood and fire. John learned that Iosef was hiding inside one of his father's most guarded nightclubs. Dozens of bodyguards armed and waiting, a fortress of flashing lights and pounding music. But John Wick didn't hesitate. He slipped inside, silent as a shadow. But still, Iosef escaped. John collapsed outside, exhausted, his body torn with wounds. But his eyes burned with fury. He wasn't done. Because when John Wick hunts you, there's no escape.